Join me. Marc Benioff is our closing guest, somebody who I've known for a fairly long time, long enough that he didn't have any hesitation, somewhat like Wiener, only more so yesterday, telling me how I need to conduct the interview. Not asking me how I thought it should be, but he did sort of ask me that, but then he told me. So he wanted me to put my questions away because I know him too well to have anything written down, which is fair enough. And I was telling Marc that...
The one person you didn't thank was yourself, so how about giving David a round of applause for putting together a great conference?
Well, you know, I appreciate that, Marc, and you know, I said in one of the things I wrote in advance of the conference that it was kind of apt to end with you because you've been so supportive of Techonomy from the beginning and given me some extremely good advice on a number of occasions. And you know, I guess maybe that's something I wouldn't mind not talking about that exactly, but you know, you have really always seemed to understand why we wanted to do Techonomy, which was to advance the collective understanding of business in particular, but government...
I didn't really understand it until you told me backstage why we do this.
Oh, you did too. But anyway, that is why we do this. I mean, we're not a tech conference. We're trying to be a conference, as we like to say, about how tech is changing everything else. And the reason we feel that's needed is because we don't think leaders generally get what they could be doing.
Did you choose the name Techonomy because the name Brainstorm was already taken?
Now you're sounding like Michael Furtick yesterday. Actually, Michael Furtick, in his humorous thing on stage, thanked me for having him at the Fortune Brainstorm yesterday.
I wasn't going to wear a costume.
No, actually, the reason that name Techonomy came up was I'd owned the URL for like 12 years because I just knew it was going to be useful for something, and it ended up encapsulating what I would want a conference to be about, because that is what it's about, the integration of technology in the economy, which is exactly what I want you to talk about, because that is the thing we feel is still not sufficiently understood. I mean, not to talk much more myself, but yesterday I was forced to say, at one point interviewing somebody, I think it was Wiener, that I'm tired of being on stage with people who are saying that our education system is not training people for the jobs that exist, but the jobs that will be. So there you have a whole sector of the leadership of society that is completely not getting what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. I think there are a surprisingly large number of business leaders who are in the same boat. Another panel here during this conference had a member who said that they were recently talking to a leader of a multi-billion-dollar national healthcare provider who was asking him, what is this cloud computing thing? So
what is cloud computing?
Well, you're probably able to describe that one. I mean, but do you worry about this issue of leaders not getting it? You spend a lot of time talking to leaders. What do you think? Do they get what's happening? Are we moving fast enough?
Is that your number one issue, that you think that leaders don't get it?
It's one of my top issues because I think, well, I also think you can define leaders broadly, but I think leaders don't get it, particularly in the United States, and I think even at an international competition level, we are falling behind because in a number of other countries, most notably China, the leaders get it way better than they do here. Do you agree with that?
Not really.
Okay, well, why not? You think leaders get it here? You think we're taking advantage of tech to the degree we need to?
I think it's relative. I think that, you know, this conference is a great example where there's a lot of things that are happening. And, you know, even in my own business, I love this venue and, because have done a lot of our own management, you know, meetings here in this room, actually. And I also just attended a really amazing conference here on the oceans as well. But when I conduct my own conferences here, you know, I always say to people, you know, there's no S under here, you know, there's just chest hair. So my point is, you know, I think we sometimes expect people to be more than they can be. There's no Superman, and we have a lot of really hard issues. There's a lot of hard issues. So. Or do you want me to look?
I just want the camera to be able to see it.
Oh, okay. I was just.
You can look at me a little bit.
Talk to you. I think there's a lot of really hard issues. I just mentioned one of them.
Right.
The oceans.
Okay.
Oceans are like a really tough. It's a really difficult set of issues in regards to overfishing or acidification of the ocean, or you can go on to other environmental issues, the CO2, or you can go on to education, or like we just heard jobs, or I
Right,
mean,
and
it's
your
like,
point
whoa,
about
it's like
leadership
really
is what?
overwhelming.
Your point about leadership
That
is?
these are really hard issues,
Yeah.
and that things are accelerating, things are going faster than ever before, and I think in many cases we expect more from people than they're able to deliver.
But don't you think we should? I mean, don't you think we should always be pushing them? I mean, what's wrong with that?
I think pushing them is great as long as you're also realistic in terms of what people are able to do. And one of the things that I found is that I think we're too quick to get angry. And
I'm
we're
not
too,
angry.
What's that?
I didn't say I was angry. I'm just impatient.
Okay.
Are we too quick to get impatient? Otherwise, okay,
Are
who's
those two
getting
things
angry? Okay,
somewhat
forget
related?
about me, but who's getting angry too fast then?
I think that
I mean, the people in San Francisco, is that what you're talking about?
I look back and I look at everything that's going on right now, and I think we need a more compassionate world, more love, and more focus on happiness, more focus on taking care of each other, taking care of our environment, and as we run our businesses, taking care of our employees, taking care of our partners. I wrote a book more than a decade ago called Compassionate Capitalism, a more compassionate capitalism. I think capitalism tends to be very much an efficiency game, and we see that more and more today, where we see companies really striving to make their capitalism more efficient than ever before. Those things, I think, are the things that are really breaking down.
Right.
I think we need more awareness and more focus on these bigger issues.
And how do we get that?
Dialogue. I think discussion is probably
Right.
the most important thing.
So where are you disagreeing
achieve.
with me here? I don't quite see.
I wasn't disagreeing.
Well, I mean, because you started out disagreeing with me that I'm impatient with leaders. I mean, I agree
No,
with
I
everything
wasn't
you
disagreeing.
said.
I was just pointing it out.
Because I certainly agree with what you said, and I think, unfortunately, I mean, Jaron Lanier gave a quite extraordinary talk this morning about, power laws and bell curves and income and wealth and power distribution. And, there's no question that we don't yet have the formula or the understanding about how to take advantage of the tools that are in front of us, whether they're technological or even moral, in order to more fully bring the population of the United States and the world into society, really. I mean, we have vast disparities that are grotesquely unfair, right?
Sure.
So yes, we should be more compassionate. Everybody does what they can. So here at Techonomy, we think, okay, one little thing that could be a lot better is the understanding of technology as a lever for progress. And when, the manager of the CEO of a national healthcare company doesn't even know what cloud computing is, forget about whether they use Salesforce, that's not what I'm talking, but that's scary to me.
You said one little thing that can make things better. One thing I was impressed with, I was sitting in the audience, is that you're talking about how you're doing these car drives with Ford outside, and you're also making contributions to code.org.
Yeah, we're very proud of that.
Well, I think that that's really important. I think, when we started Salesforce 15 years ago, I wanted to do
Ford is making the contribution, but we picked code.org, and we were
That's
very happy
great.
about that.
Three things that were important to me. One was to do a new technology model, which was cloud computing. One was a new business model for software, which was subscription services. And one was a new philanthropic model. And that was, the first day of Salesforce, which was March 8, 1999, we took 1% of our equity, 1% of our profit, and 1% of all of our employees' time, and put it into a 501c3 public charity. Because our intention from the beginning was, yes, we're going to have innovation. Yes, we're going to ride the technology curve, which is kind of a lot of the discussion that's here. We all know technology is getting lower cost and easier to use. It's a continuum. It's not stopping. It's accelerating. That's the nature of technology. But we want to couple that with compassion and to create a better company. It was very easy then because we had no employees. We had no products. We had no equity.
I was around. I remember that. Actually.
You were there.
Yeah,
you were there.
We were hanging out at the time.
We were hanging out.
But
today, now 15 years later, I can say, okay, we've been able to give almost 1 million hours of community service through our company. We're able to run more than 20,000 nonprofits and NGOs for free, and we're able to give almost $100 million in grants that came through that model, that came through that intention. And I think that it's more important than ever that as we look to create companies, create initiatives, conferences, everything that we're doing, that we're coupling that kind of awareness into what we're doing. And I thought the speaker, 2 speakers ago said, well, there was this, big payout for the WhatsApp, acquisition. Part of it is, yes, there's a big payout, but where's that money going, okay? Is it just going into somebody's private, trust or reserve or transgenerational trust? Or is it actually going to make the world better? I think I think those are the questions that are more important.
Well, it's undeniable.
I don't think that acquisitions are going to stop, nor do I think they should. And I don't think one acquisition in particular needs to necessarily be held out. I think it's more about, okay, you're given this incredible resource or this incredible amount of wealth. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to make the world better? You can see all the issues that are going on in this conference. How are you going to take these things on?
I love your asking those questions. It's undeniable that the way you structured the company on that philanthropic piece to it has been extraordinarily influential. Even Google has openly said that the creation of Google.org was inspired by what you did. And there's plenty of other companies that have done it. But I have a question for you. At this point, you're now so big and successful. Is 1% enough? Should it be more?
I don't think 1% is ever enough, but I think it's important to do something. I think the most important thing is actually not the 1%. I actually think looking back at the 15 years, the most important thing is on the first day of employment of every person at Salesforce is that when in the morning we kind of bring them in and say, here's your cube, here's the kitchen, here's all these things, and in the afternoon they actually go and do something for other people.
So you're making a statement that's
and
literal and symbolic,
and they go, okay,
which
well,
I like.
You go and you actually take action.
Yeah.
That is like you're here. You're going to go take a drive in the car and you're going to do something.
This is a question though that this 1% thing is fantastic. But it's interesting because I was just at Dreamforce, your Woodstock of business, which is an extraordinary thing. What did you have, 130,000 people there?
We had 150,000 people physically to register attendee, and 9 million also attended online.
Not that many companies do that, and I don't think any other company has 150,000 people at their corporate event. So congratulations on that. But the thing that, among many things about it that impressed me, and even surprised me, despite how well I know you, is that I heard you speak several times, and I think every time you got on stage, you talked about philanthropy and giving back for so long before you talked about business that people were like, when's he going to talk about business? So, which I think is fantastic, but it was more than 1% of it. I'm wondering, maybe you should leave Salesforce and go into, just totally, do the Gates Foundation thing. But
that's the whole point. Thank you for bringing that up. The whole point is that's exactly what we don't need. We don't need disintermediation. We need integration.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
That is, too long as we're waiting for, what Bill Gates has done is amazing and truly a role model for me. But while he was at Microsoft, he did not have that same philanthropic focus. He
that. Sure did. That's for sure. No, in fact,
you're a documentarian of his tenure at Microsoft, and you wrote, I think, maybe the last article that covered his tenure.
I wrote about him a lot. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
And the pursuit and focus and vision that he had for the world and making it better that he has today is not something that he had while he was in business.
Well, he certainly didn't articulate it very much.
But what if he had? What if he had told all those amazing people at Microsoft that this was important to him and they needed to do this and also create a great company?
I don't know.
And see, I think it's and
I don't
not
know if they
or.
would have been the monopoly success they were if he did that. Okay,
you know what? That, I think, is a belief that needs to change. And I think that is actually, you're getting to, that gets to the core of the issue. See, that's the core of the issue, which is the two things that you...
I'm not saying I thought it was great that they were a monopoly success, although I thought they made a lot of positive change in the world by having their product on every desk and in every home. That changed the world.
Okay, but that's the whole point, isn't it?
But it was a positive social vision that was at the outset of Microsoft that they actually executed brilliantly well, which was empowering people all over the world with technology in a way that individuals had never before been, which is an extraordinary thing, right?
No, that whole point is that is no longer enough. And also now let's put those three things together that you just said. One, you implied that I should leave Salesforce so that I can make a bigger impact.
I just wondered.
Two, you said, no, that was the first thing you said. Two, you said, oh, it's a good thing that Bill Gates didn't work on social issues while he was at Microsoft, or he would not have had his great business success.
That's not exactly what I said.
No, that is what you said.
Okay.
That is what you said. No, that's what you implied.
I said he probably wouldn't have had the same monopoly success if he had talked about it. I mean, I'm not even sure what it would have meant for Bill Gates to do that, but go ahead. Keep going.
But that is what needs to change. These ideas and these mindset and these beliefs you have in your own head, okay?
Presumably you're speaking the universal you, I hope, you know. But, right, okay.
No, specific. I'm just talking in the specific. I'm talking right here.
Okay, so what do you want me to do differently then? If this is a therapy session here, what is it that I need to take out of here and learn on stage in front of all these people and the live stream?
You don't need to do anything. You can just relax.
I'm
okay.
happy. Look,
but what I want to just point out,
actually, I just want to. I wish more interviews were like this because I don't have to do any work at all.
But I just want to point out some of these kind of the presuppositions, you know, around success. Okay. You know, I want to give you an insight I had recently that was kind of amazing. That was I had this amazing. Meditation teacher come to meditate with 20 CEOs at my house. And his name is Thich Nhat Hanh. He's an amazing guy. He actually was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by Martin Luther King in 1965.
He's an amazing guy. I know about him, yeah.
So he came and, you know,
he's a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. And, you know, actually several of the speakers that you had at the conference were there, and, you know, it was a great program, and he's meditating with everybody, and then he did a walk through the Presidio in San Francisco. And also, on this same trip, he went to Facebook and did a similar program there. He went to Google, he did a similar program there. Then something amazing, and I thought it was great and whatever, and, you know, it was really
sounds pretty cool.
Really cool. And everybody felt better, you know, afterwards. It was kind of this big, whoa, we're so relieved, and, you know, everybody's so relaxed and feeling great. So anyway, what's interesting was December 24th.
Go back and reap undue profits. Okay, go.
And that was not his message, but December 24th.
But that's what they did, I'm just saying.
December 24th, I'm just randomly on Twitter. Like it's just kind of, and you know, and all of a sudden, I follow him, and then up on the Twitter stream, it's just like, well, here's this video, you know, that I just made. Well, I wonder what it is, you know. And so I click on the video, and it starts this whole discussion about his trip to San Francisco. And he's talking about his trip to San Francisco, and he goes, yeah, and I'm paraphrasing, but you can find this on his stream. He goes, yeah, and you know, just as I say it, you'll see this is not exactly how he said it. He goes, yeah, I went to San Francisco, and it was kind of surreal because all these folks wanted me to come and teach them mindfulness. And so I went to Facebook, and I went to Google, and I ran these big programs, and I met with this group of CEOs, and they all want me to teach them mindfulness, and we have these great programs and really help them let go of a lot of their suffering. And what I don't understand is, in each one of these things, I'm telling them the most important thing is to be happiness. You know, be happy and achieve happiness, and use mindfulness to achieve happiness. And he goes, but what's interesting was when I went to Facebook, they said their number one goal at Facebook, and even the most enlightened people, you know, in the room, their number one goal at Facebook is to be number one. That's what they want to be, number one in mobile, number one in Messenger, number one in social. And then they have the Facebook, mindfulness program, and so they brought him into that. And then he went to Google, and they said, well, we want to be number one. We're number one in search, and we're number one in mobile. And then they have like the search within program, and so he goes and does the program there. And then he comes to us, and we're like, yeah, we're here, we want to be, we're all have our companies, and we're so excited. So he goes, but they need to decide. They need to decide what's more important to them. Do they want to be number one, or do they want to be happy? And I thought, that was really interesting. And then he goes, do they want to be successful, or do they want to be happy? And his point was that in these 3 different venues, he's meeting with groups, and this is kind of what he says, that is using mindfulness to achieve number one, or to achieve success, but not necessarily to achieve happiness. And what he's trying to do is redirect their consciousness around being happy and enjoying their life, helping other people.
Are these things mutually exclusive? I mean, I don't know. I'm not even sure. I mean, I'm thinking as you're telling me this.
And so what he says is this. He says, people then say, are these things mutually exclusive? But, this is exactly what he says, and you can check the video. And he says,
well, I guess
you have to decide what's important. What's more important, happiness or success?
So they
What's
are
more
mutually
important?
exclusive in his opinion.
No, you have to prioritize. If everything is important in life, nothing's important. So what's more important to you? To be happy or to be successful?
Okay.
To be number one or to be successful?
What about you when you
to
started
make the world better?
Salesforce and you have Siebel over here and you were like building the software X, right? Wasn't that doing exactly what he's saying you had to make a choice
Those
about?
were my 30s, David.
Okay. So basically you're saying you've changed very concretely.
I wish I had changed. I wish I have changed. I'm telling you what he said.
I mean, I don't know the answer to any of this, but I will say it's really interesting.
Neither do I.
Because I also
But I think it is part of the solution, actually.
Let me at least ask a question. So you had another session at your house with Eckhart Tolle, which
I did.
also had a bunch of senior tech leaders that I happened to have attended, which I thought was kind of exciting and interesting. I wish I'd been at the Thich Nhat Hanh one, but I mean, why do you do that? I think you're probably already telling us, but tell me a little more. I mean, what is it you're trying to achieve by bringing all these tech leaders together with people like Eckhart Tolle or Thich Nhat Hanh? That takes a lot of work on your part, and I admire it, and I'd just like you to talk about why.
Well, I want to create a great company. Okay, that's one of my goals. And I think to create a great company today and to achieve
Success?
True success, okay, which is a success that's more than a monetary success, more than just a material success, okay, but a success where you have made the world better. That you're, when we're all gone, what we're going to look back at is, how did we make the world better? And these companies are amazing vehicles to do that. And these technologies are as well. But the question is that our intention? And are we dialed in on that? Because certainly we can really
I'm starting to
have
understand
a
what you're
big
saying.
program.
So you're not saying that Salesforce products don't make the world better, but you're saying that having the more mindful intentionality of the more spiritual dimension is likely or more likely to lead you to products that are beneficial to the world. Is that what you're saying, in effect?
No. What I'm saying is it's important to have the intention that you're going to do more than make money. You're going to have the intention of more than being just having a physical success.
That isn't a very shocking notion.
That you're going to, but let's take a step back.
I mean, we're all very multifaceted human beings with huge sets of motivations and ideas and hopes and dreams. We're trying to do a million different things at any given moment in time, right? I mean, and you are, one of the things about you that I've always been struck by, and I don't even know how it fits into this, although it's probably just why you're open to it. You're a very generous person. I mean, that's why you invite me to these things. And all your friends know how generous you are. You're very wealthy, but you share what you have with people quite a lot.
The only reason I do that, by the way, is to make myself happy. Because
Well,
the
that
only
makes
the
sense
way
to me.
the
Why
happy
else
the only
would
way
you
you
do
get
it,
the
for
only way
God's
you
sake?
get happiness is through giving and through generosity.
That's fair
it's
enough.
very selfish.
Yeah, fine. Okay, cool. That's good. I still have a little trouble understanding why you wanted to beat Siebel so badly, though, in the context of this, given what you're saying. Or is that really just the past and therefore an irrelevant question?
I think it's just a tactic to a much greater strategy.
Okay, what's the future strategy then? If I might just cut you right off.
Well, I think the most important thing today for me is having the conversation that we're having, which is to, I meet with so many entrepreneurs on the drive down. I'm on the phone with a lot of entrepreneurs, talking to them, and this conference is also a great example. And I want to inspire them to build more than just a company, build more than just a product. I can't tell you how many people I'll go to breakfast with, and they feel that their societal contribution is their product.
Yeah.
Okay? And the product is important, but there's something more. And if you really do want to create change in the world and you really want to, see some impact, then you're going to have to, the only way you're going to get this change is to change the consciousness. And our employees are important to do that. Our customers are important to do that. Our partners are important to do that. Salesforce does make the world a little better in that, we run over 20,000 NGOs for free. I can tell you a lot of those NGOs are doing a lot of really important work in the world. So maybe in that way, maybe Salesforce is making the world a little bit better.
But you wouldn't assert even that with just your other products being sold to giant corporations, you are making the world better in any sense that matters to you in this way. You're not even asserting that.
No.
That's
I don't. I'm sure that there's probably arguments that you can make that, but I think that the world is better when one person is helping another person. And that makes really the world better.
Well,
and insofar that we can accelerate that or help that or facilitate that, whether it's, then yes, it's important.
I like that I think it's fascinating that you put such a priority on this. You know what it makes me regret? Yesterday I did have Jeff Weiner on the stage, and he has a lot of very similar views, and he talks a lot about compassion.
He was at the Thich Nhat Hanh
I had it on my
program.
list to talk to him about his passion about compassion, so to speak. And we just didn't get to it because there was not enough time and there were so many things to discuss. But and it's interesting, there are other leaders who articulate something quite similar. I'd like to get the audience in on this, since it is our mindset.
And at Dreamforce, we want to bring that into the conversation. Yes, Dreamforce is about innovation, it's about fun, it's about giving back.
Okay.
But also we have, that's one of the reasons we brought Eckhart Tolle this year to Dreamforce, or Arianna Huffington, or even Neil Young.
Well, Neil Young is a good guy. Do your customers sometimes say, do you think they get it? I guess that's my question.
They 100% get it.
All right, okay.
And that's, I think,
if they get it,
and by the way, I think that people get it today. I think people realize that just doing the same old thing isn't really going to get them or get this world to where we want it to get to.
Well, I could not agree with you more about that.
We need to try some new things.
I absolutely think that is a wonderful thing to say. Let's hear some questions or comments from the audience. Who's shocked or dismayed or befuddled? Get the mic over here.
Hi, my name's Derek. I helped Richard Branson co-found something called the B Team, which is a collection of about 16 business leaders like yourself who are coming together to accelerate that vision that business really needs to be a driving force for social and environmental progress. And this is my first economy. I am from a digital background, but I was getting more and more disappointed that this concept was not being incorporated into this discussion for the last 2 days. I think it's a real risk for this conference itself, because there is a revolution going on that Marc is speaking to, that enlightened leaders from all around the world are really understanding that the point of capitalism is got to be beyond just profit, and that there are so many serious problems in the world that a lot of the discussion that we've had in the last couple of days kind of doesn't get to at the end, which is kind of what you're referring to. I really encourage you to really rethink the role of Techonomy in...
Were you at the Grand Challenges session yesterday? You felt that about that session?
That was probably the only session that touched it, but it also
What
bifurcated
about the African entrepreneurs? I mean, we actually do think about this. But we
I
are
think it's
trying to be
lacking.
we're a business conference. We got to get
You don't
people
have
to
to
pay
be
money.
defensive. You can just
I mean,
listen.
I'm amazed that you didn't feel
Yeah. No,
that
I
in the
think it's- I
brand
think it's-
challenges
It's
session
just
when Larry
customer
Brilliant was
feedback. That's all it is. Just accept it. Jesus.
The Grand Challenge session was about
Relax.
philanthropy.
We
It
had
wasn't
Larry
about
Brilliant
Oh,
up here, man.
just relax.
Purpose.
Having Larry Brilliant does not make your conference spiritual.
So,
He's a great
I'm
guy.
not saying the conference
Okay.
is spiritual.
My question is to Mark,
We did not have Thich Nhat Hanh, that's true.
which is, apart from doing this and speaking about this, how can you accelerate this thought in the West Coast, in the Valley, because it really is a vacuum of the type of thinking that you've been saying, which is illustrated by how complicated this discussion was.
You know, David mentioned we just finished Dreamforce, and it was our biggest and most exciting Dreamforce ever. David actually came and moderated a panel, and we did have more than 150,000 people register to attend, which exceeded our expectation, and more than 9 million also attended online. And it just consumed all of the resources of the company to achieve the success. We do a lot of unusual things at Dreamforce, but this year, one of the things we did was we really worked to be a little bit more overt in our philanthropy. And in each day of the 4-day conference, we dedicated one day to a major topic. Today is Veterans Day, a very important day here in the United States to recognize our veterans. One day at Dreamforce was dedicated for veterans, for getting veterans jobs, for supporting our veterans, for remembering the service that our veterans have made to our country, and to really think about those 2 million individuals who have made an unbelievable commitment, especially in Iraq and Afghanistan over the last decade, and focusing on that. One day was focused on K-12 education and the transformation that we're all trying to make in our schools.
A lot of time in your keynote was devoted to that, yeah.
Yeah, one day was also dedicated to environmental issues. We also, one day was dedicated to hunger, and we raised money for 3 million meals. And in each of those days, we also asked attendees to take a physical action around one of these issues, whether it was putting together materials for our preterm birth program at our Oakland Children's Hospital, whether it was going with our veterans to Moffett Field, whether it was doing something with our kids. And I think that that's really important. I think taking action is really is something that we have to show people that they have to do. That people want to create change in today's world, and if you can provide them the vehicle to do that, they're going to make that happen. It also changes the energy and the construct and the feeling at the conference. You know, now, to his point, he said, what do we have to do differently? We're a lot more overt on our philanthropic topics. Also, one of the things that I've kind of changed my rap a little bit, where I might not be as overt with some of these topics as I would be, if you go back and watch some of David and I's interviews over the last 15 years, starting with Pam Alexander's hotel room at the Hotel de Paris in August of 1999, I can just say that.
That was in Monaco,
Well,
yeah.
that's all
when
I can
Mark and I
say.
first met, yeah.
We'll reveal more at the next economy. But,
That was fun.
you know, I feel like now for me, maybe because I just turned 50, that I need to like be a little bit more focused on this and a little bit less about, I'm not going to jump in as much on the world is going cloud, the world is going social, the world is going mobile, connected products. I can do that whole discussion probably, you know, in depth. If I don't take this 15 or 20 minutes to really focus on this issue, or to kind of deal with those kind of 3 or 4 presuppositions that you kind of, you know, really set up so well, then I'm not going to be able to get my point across.
The thing that I don't understand, and we do have to end soon, unfortunately, and I'm curious what the guy in the second row thinks about this too. When I hear what Jaron Lanier said this morning about finding even technological and algorithmic ways to try to even out the distribution of wealth in the world, that to me has a profoundly fundamental spiritual dimension in itself, which you seem to be denying, and that's the part that I don't get. You know, he was talking about how, You know,
I didn't deny that.
The original vision
Right.
of
that isn't what I said at
digital
all, actually.
connectivity was, no, let me just finish. He was talking about the original, Ted Nelson's vision of a connected internet, wasn't an internet then, connected society, included a notion of micropayments where everyone somehow was compensated for the contribution to the collective good, the collective knowledge base, et cetera. And he was bemoaning the loss of that and hypothesizing that it might be possible to get back to that. Now, when I hear somebody like this guy say, it hasn't been in this conference, to me, that is this. I don't see why it's not the same thing. Although I do think it's very valuable, and we love having you here talking about it specifically.
I don't recommend getting angry at your customers.
I'm just saying, but I'm really asking the question to you,
Yeah.
and I still am not entirely certain why you still feel you need to lead Salesforce.com now that you're worth all these billions of dollars. There's plenty of ways if the point is to convey a message. It isn't necessary to lead the company. I think that it has virtues and you're using it in clever ways and useful ways, but there are plenty of other ways to convey a message. And I don't fault Bill Gates in this. Who does? Who could fault Bill Gates? I don't even fault Mark Zuckerberg.
It's not conveying the message. That's not the point of running Salesforce.com, is that Salesforce.com is a company that is actually trying to create social change as well as creating technological change. Those two things are coupled. There's no separation of those things from our mission. There never has been from the first moment that we started the company.
Yeah, there's plenty of companies that don't think of it that way, but are still creating tremendous social change, though. I mean, you can't
Sure,
deny
of course.
that. Even Microsoft, perhaps at the peak of its monopoly, I would argue.
Okay.
So that's my opinion, whatever. I think it's great that we had this kind of conversation to end the conference, though, because it is symbolic of the kind of conference we want this to be. We want it to be an open dialogue about what really matters, and even though I don't understand all the things you're talking about up here, and I certainly didn't anticipate the conversation would go this way, I'd far rather have this conversation than hear about how Salesforce is going to be Tom Siebel 10 years ago. You know, this is way more important, and I really think you're a fantastic thinker and
Thank you.
and
I
a
think you're
good
a fantastic
friend.
thinker
And the
and a
fact
good
that you
friend, too.
came is meaningful to me too, because I know you're a busy guy and it's not a huge, there's not 150,000 people here. So I guess we got to wrap because time is up.
David, congratulations on a great conference. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Okay, well, like I said, not the way I would have thought it would end, but I think it's actually a beautiful way for it to end. And let me just thank our sponsors because that's a very important way for it to end. EMC and City Ventures, Ericsson, Ford, Castlight Health, and McKinsey in particular. Right here, next year, November 8th through 10th, please be here. We'll let you all know how to sign up very soon because we're expecting it to be an even better event. Thanks for being here, and let's all enjoy the rest of the day and the world.